Welcome to Out Loud with me, your host, Erin Pash. I'm so excited for the show we have in store today. We're going to talk all about physician mental health. We're going to bring in two female anesthesiologists locally here in the Twin Cities, and they're going to talk about how things have changed in the landscape of physician mental health and wellness, pre-COVID, post-COVID, and what they see is in store for the future. I'm also super excited because on Erin's Take today, we actually have the founders and creators here in studio to share their products, talk about their mission, and how they're changing the world one candle at a time. Dear Erin today also has three really enticing topics that I really hope you as our viewers are going to enjoy and get a lot of information out. Without further ado, let's go.
Okay, this is a good one. Dear Erin, I'm new to therapy and just started meeting with my therapist. I'm not sure if we're a good fit. What do I do? Do I stick it out for a few more sessions to see if things feel better? Do I ghost them and find a new one? Do I ask to be reassigned? This is uncomfortable. How do I know if a therapist is the right fit for me?
That really is a good one. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's kind of popular these days to talk about, like, as more people are going to therapy, we talk about the fit and making sure that it's the right fit. Research talks about the fit. My advice, obviously, is don't ghost them. If you're truly uncomfortable, I'm not going to tell you. Your therapist's heart is not going to be totally broken after 2 sessions if you just ghost them and don't come back, right? We care much more about the client feeling safe and comfortable than we care about our feelings. However, if you feel like the rapport is good enough, I feel like it's really important to kind of lean into that discomfort. Therapy can be like any other relationship, right? Sometimes they can just click and you can be like, wow, this is the best fit. I can't believe I found somebody so great. And then other relationships need to be nurtured. So if you bring this up with your therapist, which I highly recommend, you can be like super bold with them. We love assertive communication and say, I'm not feeling this, or maybe I'm feeling that. A good therapist will help you talk through it, see if you guys could be a good fit or a match. And if not, help you find one that might be. So I say, don't ghost, talk to them about it. You don't have to make it work, right? It's not a square peg in a round hole situation, right? But a good therapist really wants you to get everything out of this commitment to your wellness, and they also want to make sure it's a good fit.
Totally. Okay, next. Dear Erin, my partner has been struggling with depression for many years, and it seems to be getting worse. Recently, they spent the entire day in bed and even got in trouble at work for this. I've never struggled with depression or mental illness and don't know how to support them when it's getting bad. How can I be a supportive partner when they're struggling?
Yeah, it's unfortunately all too common, right? Like mental health stuff impacts, they say on paper it impacts 40 to 50% of the population, but I always say that those are the only people who are saying yes on the surveys, right? 100%. It's really, in my experience, it impacts everybody. I would say at a closer to 90 to 100% rate, just in different ways. The most important thing when we have a partner who's experiencing something like this is really, we talk a lot about this in the mental health field, but to meet them where they're at. If they're in bed all day and you still want that connection, or they've expressed to you that what makes them feel better or get them through things is still being able to engage in the connection with you, get in bed with them and talk to them, right? Like that's literally physically meeting them where they're at and really trying to do it in a shameless way. I think a lot of people will naturally pull back and take distance from their partner, assuming that they have to get through their struggles on their own. And that's really not the case. One of my favorite things that I learned a long time ago is looking at our mental health as a state of being versus a trait of who we are. Right? A trait of who we are is that I might be funny or I might be dramatic. I've been called that a time or two.
Same.
Right? But being depressed is a state of being. I can be depressed and I can be Erin. You can be anxious and you can be Zoe. And so I think it's really important for partners to understand and remember that this is just a state that they're in. It can ebb and flow within days, within hours, and to just be there. Right? Like as human beings, we care so much more about belonging to other human beings than anything else. And so to just know that you have this rock or this anchor person for the good times and the bad times is a really, really powerful way to help people through the tough times.
I think that's going to be really helpful for a lot of people to hear.
I hope so.
Our last one today. Dear Erin, I have a really strained relationship with my mom, and I have for several years. I'm about to get married and I'm trying to navigate her role in the wedding and even the events leading up to the wedding. I'm sad about the possibility of her not being a part of it all, but I'm also afraid to reintroduce her into important parts of my life. How do I set boundaries? How do I build that relationship again?
Yeah, it's so hard, especially like mothers and daughters and weddings and all that stuff. I mean, there's a reason why there's a little bit of a stereotype around those dynamics, and it's because they're really challenging. Yeah. My best advice is to do it slowly, right? This isn't like let's jump off the diving board into the deep end and get all the way underwater. This is like a slowly walk in the shallow end of the pool. Start by sharing what you're comfortable with in a very slow way and see what kind of pushback you get, right? Then be willing to be assertive and open in that communication and set the boundaries. After all, like, you're an adult, you're getting married. This is a really important time for you to be working through your own identity, and you have to be weathering that water and that temperature really delicately. And I always tell brides, in these types of situations, that you have to do what feels best for you. Yeah. You just do. And, a wedding is not a forever. I mean, well, it can be. A wedding can be forever or not, wherever you're at, right? But the wedding itself does not dictate the many years you might have with your mom, right? So don't think of the wedding as being the be-all, end-all thing that has to get you guys to this next stage in life. Yeah. You can go slow and decide what you want the boundaries to be for your wedding, and then you can keep working on that relationship after the fact. It's very possible that working on this during a wedding might not be the right time, when emotions are kind of raging and things are feeling overwhelming and stressful. So I highly recommend for them to go really slow in this process, and also try and enjoy this time. It can only be as stressful as you make it.
Personally, I think there should be like a separate career for wedding planning therapy. I think that would be a really great market to tap into.
Definitely a niche market. I mean, I agree. I think there's so much built up about like weddings in general. Yes. I don't know about you, but as a little girl, like social norms were that this is supposed to be the happiest, dreamiest, princessy day of your life, and it can be that, but really, like, when you're grounded as an adult, it's not like that. No. But you don't know how to manage those expectations of what you once thought it should be and what it really is. And so I do think it's a really fun and unique and challenging time in young people's lives. Yeah. And yeah, I definitely think that could be a niche therapy market for sure. Those are really good questions today. I appreciate you bringing them and for the discussion.
Of course. And if you have any questions that you would like Erin to answer, reach out to outloud@elliementalhealth.com.
I am so excited for today. On Erin's Take today, we actually have the founders, owners, creatives here in studio. I'm excited to introduce you to Kobe and Tasha of KobeCo. They have these lovely smelling candles that not only smell good, but they do good, they feel good, they sound good. Yeah, just can't wait for them to explain how awesome they sound. They are here today to share with us their products, and I'm going to have Kobe, our founder, creator, talk us through some of these incredible products we have sitting on the table here.
So these are our 9-ounce, 100% soy, environmentally friendly candles, luxury fragranced.
They smell like it's incredible. So this one burning right now is the same one I have in my hand.
That one burning here, this is Purple Rain, one of our number one bestsellers.
Look at Tasha's shirt. She's representing local prints. Yes, that's us. And it truly is like amazing.
Thank you. We are Prince lovers, so we definitely wanted to incorporate and do something along the lines of Prince. And so I also love crystals, obviously, so I incorporate a lot of crystals within my stuff. And so amethyst crystals is what we chose for this one, because purple rain, obviously.
It's perfect.
And of course, the playlist has tons of Prince.
Yeah. So yes, of course, mentioning the playlist, we have these QR codes on the back of our 9-ounce candles that you can scan on the Spotify app and get access to a curated playlist. Each scent has their own, curated to their theme and scent. So.
And this is the Lizzo one, right?
Yep. Yes.
Feeling good as hell.
Yes.
Okay. I cannot wait. I just want to take them home and like have the vibe in every single room of my house and just play the Spotify list. This is amazing. And so you also have some room sprays here, and these are wax melts so that you can put them in like a candle, something like that.
Yep. The wax melts basically burn in the candle without the flame.
And they all all smell so delightful. This one is chillaxin, which we sprayed earlier. This was your original scent, right?
Yes, one of
Chillaxin.
our original 5 cents that we first came out with. My baby, my personal favorite.
Yes. So I want you to tell us, right? So these are incredible candles. I am a candle enthusiast. I absolutely love them. And I think this is absolutely my favorite to date, from just the aesthetic to the smell to the vibe to the way it makes you feel to the incredible story of the founders. I would love for you to tell us the story. You know, I know that I said that these candles more than just smell good and look good, but they also do good. So why don't you share the story with how you got started creating these candles and all the incredible things that you guys are doing as a part of KobeCo.
Yeah, of course. So I originally started out wanting to pay for an HBCU college tour that I had been attending annually. And
Will you say just in case people don't know what HBC is?
Oh, HBCU stands for Historically Black College and University.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. So I love the HBCU college tour. It not only brought me together with people from my community, but like I was seeing schools filled with people that looked like me, my people, like, and it was the culture, like experiencing it all was beautiful. And I knew that I wanted to attend this again and experience this all over again. And so I wanted to help my parents raise money for this. Just my mom had recently left corporate America, and
yeah, deuces.
Yeah,
chuck the deuces, seriously. And so I wanted to be able to help provide money for this college tour. And I had recently got out of working fast food and all that, and I didn't want to do that again just because it just wasn't for me, I felt like.
Well, and this was like also right before COVID hit too, right?
Yes,
so this was like a whole bunch of things were happening all at the same time.
Right, all at the same time. And so when we first had our first pop-up, that was a father-daughter event that I had attended with my stepfather. And the amount of support and love that we had received was so like immense. It was huge. And then COVID hit and the HBCU college tour got canceled, and just a lot of things went awry that we never expected. But KobeCo was still something, it was still there.
And it grew by word of mouth.
Yeah.
And we received an invitation to booth share with, shout out to Latunji's Palette, which is an amazing bakery, Black-owned, woman-owned in Minneapolis. She had a booth at Minneapolis Farmers Market and invited us to come down. And we spent the season down there building relationships, creating brand exposure for our product, and started noticing a lot of repeat business. And it just took off like wildfire.
Literally,
Yeah.
like fire.
Yeah, literally. There you go. Yeah, so now we're in all 8 Patina stores. Electric Fetus was our first retail space, and that was like full circle for us because 1, we love Prince, and 2, I used to go to a little Catholic school that's right behind it, and called St. Stephen's. And when we did really well, we were allowed to walk to Electric Fetus. And so that was always one of my happy places. I took Kobe and my son when they were small, and so it ultimately became one of their happy places.
Yeah, I would get so excited she would let me pick out all the incense scents and look through the records and stuff like that. So.
It's a cool store. It's one of our really local gems here in Minneapolis, and it's just been around
Prince
forever.
used to shop there and play there.
Yes, yes, he did. Yes,
Yeah.
he did. Yeah. So tell me about now that KobeCo is in all these stores and it's growing like crazy, and you guys are just kicking ass with the scents in the candle game. And truly, they are, like smell amazing. Like I wish there was a way.
Smell-o-vision.
Smell-vision. I know
on
it
its
needs
way.
to be. It needs to be a thing. It has to be a thing. But you guys are doing a lot. You know, it's not just about going on a college tour for you anymore. You guys are doing a lot to support BIPOC scholarships and all that kind of stuff. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit about that too?
Yes. So once the HBCU college tour was out of the picture, we wanted to still continue this somehow. And so our message became helping me with my journey to going to college, so paying for my college fund. And then around school time, so not only was I focusing on the business during quarantine, but I was also attending high school. My last semester of junior year and my entire senior year, I was all online and at home and out of routine, and my room became my lunchroom, my classroom, my relax room, barely. And it just became so overwhelming, and I really needed my outlets, which was music, which was burning candles, which was self-care. All of that was what I used to basically work myself out of this funk that I was in, and I wanted to be able to share that and incorporate that within my business. So
now we started a scholarship to not only help Kobe when she returns to school from her gap year, but to help other young BIPOC women with their educational aspirations. And then our Black Lives Matter candle, we donate a portion of the proceeds from the sale of that candle to local families here that have been impacted by police or gun violence. And unfortunately, we've had to donate to way too many families as a result.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I love that you guys are giving back on both ends, right? People who have been hurt, and people who are aspiring to go to college, make change, and making sure that people have, reducing access barriers, especially for BIPOC folks. And the candles are incredible. Obviously, the co-founders are incredible. I'm obsessed with their whole aesthetic, like everything from your brand to your outfits to your print shirts, to your tennis shoes. Like, I love all of it. And I couldn't be more proud to support KobeCo. And I'm really excited for everyone to get a chance. Go and get your candles now. They're going to put them on the bottom of the screen. The room sprays are amazing. I feel like I'm going to smell delightful all day. And it's like got an oil in it. My hands feel really soft all of a sudden because I just sprayed on them. So seriously, I'm so grateful that you guys were able to come in and share this with us today. And I wish you the best of luck, and you have a huge supporter in me.
Thank you. So thanks for having us.
Welcome. Absolutely. I'm really excited about the next product we get to review today on Erin's Take. It's from a company called Thera, which is a women-owned company that supports health and wellness and self-care initiatives. A percentage of every sale gets donated to mental health organizations, and they're actually an affiliate of ours. So there's a link below if you're interested in buying any products from Thera. Today we are going to open up this magical bag on the ground down here. Oh my God, it's heavy. And we're gonna review one of the products in here, which I understand is a weighted robe. All right, oh my God, it's so heavy. Okay. Let's get it out of here. All right, Zoe is our model, of course, as always. Oh my gosh, this is only 15 pounds. I feel like it's a workout. Okay.
Where's the sleeves?
I'm trying to find it, but it's very heavy. Okay. It smells good. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. It's so soft.
Smell?
It smells good.
Or is that the candle?
No, I think it's the robe a little bit too.
Okay.
It's so beautiful. It smells, it has like almost like this little aroma to it. I don't know, maybe they put like lavender or something there. I have no idea if they do or not. But it's heavy. How does it feel?
It feels really good.
It feels like comfortable.
Yeah.
Have you ever used a weighted blanket before?
Yeah, every night.
Oh, they're just the best. They're the
Lots
absolute
of
best.
anxiety.
And it's super soft. It's super duper soft.
I'm gonna lay down.
You should lay down in it. Yeah, let's talk about this. You look super uncomfortable, but the robe looks great.
It's really helping. I feel like this would be nice during therapy.
I feel like it would be kind of awesome after the shower, like, to be honest. Like, you get out of a hot shower where maybe you've taken an extra 5 minutes of self-care and you put on this robe and you just get that like warm hug feeling, you know?
It's been a long week. This is nice.
This is nice. I love it. So Thera is the company. It has a really cute little happy logo down here. Wrap yourself in calm is their slogan, which is what Zoe's doing right now. And I actually can't wait to try this one myself. I'm going to be taking this one home. So awesome. Thank you, Thera. I'm super excited for Erin Out Loud today. I have some friends of mine here who also happen to be anesthesiologists here in the Minneapolis community, Wendy and Alana. And today we're going to talk a little bit about physician mental health. We're going to talk about what it's like to be the doctors who put people to sleep for all of their procedures. And we're just going to carry on a conversation around how we can improve the mental health quality of physicians, specifically anesthesiologists, how being women anesthesiologists in the field, and how that has felt for you guys over the course of your career and all of that kind of good stuff. So without further ado, I just want to introduce, why don't you guys say, you know, like your names and where you work and how long you guys have been doing what you've been doing.
I'm Wendy. Forgot what all your questions, but I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a pediatric anesthesiologist. I work with Alana. We actually started at the same time, 2016, I think. Right. So we're both pediatric anesthesiologists. We mainly take care of children at the Masonic Children's Hospital, which is affiliated with the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm Alana. I moved, trained in New York and then moved here in 2016. We actually lived on the same floor of our condo too, and our dogs are siblings, so.
We do everything together, like this interview.
And then actually, we both are pediatric anesthesiologists, but we have a lot of administrative tests too. Wendy's in charge of the medical students that rotate through anesthesiology, and I'm in charge of the residents, so.
And we both co-founded our wellness committee within our department of anesthesiology.
Yeah. So these guys are super active in making sure that they're, obviously working with kids, making sure that people are taking good care of themselves, all that kind of good stuff. So some of the stuff I feel like people are going to want to know, right? Like just about, I know for me as somebody who has, you remember I just had a vocal cord blep removed. I was put under by a lovely anesthesiologist with a combination of drugs and all that kind of good stuff. I think people are just kind of curious in general, like what happens in the OR after, you guys put people asleep? What is that like? Like what really, when you think about your job, if you could describe it to a kindergartner, what does it entail at kind of that level?
I was going to say, I actually do describe it to a kindergartner.
Yeah, go ahead.
So did you go for it? Yeah.
Mommy puts babies to sleep and then keeps them alive. No, I'd say we make sure that you're basically safely monitored, all of your vital signs, your heart rate, your blood pressure are safe, and that while you're getting the surgery done, and then you're also completely comfortable. So while you're not aware, we still don't want you to be feeling any pain, even if you wouldn't remember it. So we're giving you drugs to make sure that everything is kind of healthy. That's my kindergarten spiel.
That's good. So that gives
basically.
me so to take it a step further, I think people don't really realize how big of a deal it is, right? Like that you guys are often the most important person in the room, making sure people's yes, they're the most important people. But making sure that people are okay, and it's more than just oh, you don't want to remember this surgery. It's managing pain. It's a combination of different types of medications, and not just I think there are things, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, but we talk about Michael Jackson. Right, for example, he died from an overdose of the same medications that you guys use to closely monitor. So it's riding this fine line. We talk a lot about mental health and addiction and all those types of things. I know that it's a really careful chemical process, and I don't think you guys probably get the credit you deserve, right? Because then it's always going back to the surgeon or the doctor who's doing the work. And so I think it's kind of like the silent, right? The silent physician in the room that nobody really gets a chance to interact with a lot. But it's a really big deal. And I think, showcasing that what you guys do is a really big deal is super important, especially for kids. That can be a super scary thing for kids to have to, I actually have a question about that. I wonder, you guys probably had to do rounds with adults too, right? Yeah. Do kids do better going into surgical procedures than adults because they're just kind of more trusting, or what is that dynamic like?
No.
What
do you think?
It kind of depends on the age, but you kind of have to tailor the anesthetic, basically the pre-anesthetic evaluation, and potentially giving them a pre-medication to take them back.
To get them more calm.
Yeah, so older kids, you can kind of rationalize with them more and kind of prep them.
Yeah.
But younger kids, toddler age, there's no rationalizing with the toddler.
Totally.
So they often take a medication,
Okay.
an oral medication to drink before we take them back, and it helps them with their anxiety.
Yeah.
And often helps them not remember the experience of going back with us.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I was kind of getting at. It's having any kind of surgery or any kind of going under, whether you're prepared for it or it's on an emergency basis, that is a really huge anxious thing. It triggers our whole everything, right? Survival mechanism, fight or flight. It's just scary, especially fear of the unknown. There's a lot that goes on because we're asleep when we have surgery that we just don't know, and we can't watch the process, I will never forget. So I have some stomach stuff, and I had to go and get a colonoscopy a few years ago. Well, I've had lots of them, and they normally, they give you the propofol, I think that's what it's called. They put you out, and you don't remember it, and you wake up. Usually I'm waking up emotional, yelling or crying or something like that. I don't know if that's a side effect of the drug, but I think it is. And you just don't know, and then a doctor comes in and tells you your results. Well, a couple of years ago, they couldn't get an IV in. I was dehydrated, couldn't get it in, and so I did it without anything. I don't look at their eyes are wide. I'm I feel this is something that I brag about because I feel so powerful that I had a colonoscopy with being completely awake, no sedatives or anything. And obviously they didn't go as high up the scope or anything because it can get more painful, I guess, as you make some of the sharp turns or whatever. But it was fascinating for me to know that I've had maybe 5 or 10 of these things in my life where I've just been completely asleep, and then to watch the process and be kind of involved when I was awake, it helped me understand and know so much more, And so I think it's fascinating that people just don't really, they don't have consciousness. So there is no awareness of kind of what's happening behind there, but there is always somebody in the room making sure that, it's not just whatever the surgeon is doing, that somebody's just taking care of your baseline stuff to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, very few people remember us if we do our job very well and
Yeah,
forget us very quickly, and that's okay. That's kind of part of being in our profession.
Well, that leads me to another question. Like, how did you guys how'd you pick it? People go through all these different rounds and all these different, things in medical school where you have to try kind of a little bit of everything. Like, how did each of you stumble upon, like, I love doing this?
I feel like, I'll go first. I feel like we probably have pretty different stories of how we got there. I think that for me, I didn't know, like, I liked a lot of things and I didn't know what I liked. And I also knew that I wanted kind of what I thought would be like a more well-balanced lifestyle within medicine. I don't know if I have that for sure, but as much as you can, like I liked that you actually are very mobile because you don't have your own practice, right? Like I don't have my own patients. I have to worry, now I have this practice and I can't move anywhere else. And I liked that usually, I wouldn't call it like shift work, but we're taking turns like on call. We have different weeks where days we're on call. So it's a little more flexibility in your schedule. And I also liked, I can't just like sit in a chair and talk to people all day.
Yeah.
So I kind of like that there's a lot of like movement to it and you get to do a lot of procedures, but still think about medicine. And it's, as you can probably tell, like I speak really fast and like to do things really fast. And it's kind of like you just get to go boom, 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 like through things. So that was kind of nice.
That makes sense. What about you, Wendy?
I thought I was going to be an internal medicine doctor. I was like the chair of the internal medicine interest group. I did all this like internal medicine stuff. I have like cousins who are in internal medicine. But then I did my rotations during your 3rd and 4th year of medical school. And I thought it was kind of boring. And it was like really long days of like rounding and rounding and rounding. And you don't actually get to see like the effects of your medications all that quickly. But when I did I went to school in Madison, Wisconsin, and their anesthesiology is a required rotation.
Okay.
Most medical schools don't have it as a required rotation. So I had to do anesthesiology. It was actually in, I think, La Crosse, Wisconsin, this tiny little hospital Gunderson Lutheran. And there was a anesthesiologist. He was like in his 60s, kind of towards the end of his career. He was Korean American. And he told me, "Oh, Wendy, you'd be so good at this. And like, this is a great lifestyle. This would be great for you." And I started having fun. It's kind of fun, bouncing around different things. And I started to believe him, and I actually switched into anesthesiology pretty late in my medical school career, like early 4th year. So I actually had 2 applications. It was like, do I go into internal medicine or do I go into anesthesiology? And then I started getting interviews for anesthesiology because I wasn't sure how competitive I would be. And then I ultimately chose to stick with anesthesiology, and I matched. So.
Oh, well, that's really cool. So it is totally different. Yeah.
It's very different,
You kind of had like a mentor or somebody who kind of said, like, hey, you'd be really good at this. You kind of were looking at how can I have a little bit of a different balance. I've talked to so many physicians over time too. Like I have a friend who's a pathologist and she always knew, and her husband is a pediatric nephrologist, like just works with kid kidneys, right? And so one of the things I found was fascinating was that he had been a doctor for about 5 years longer than she had. And he's like, patient care with kids is really hard. Like, and she saw it really weighing on him. She's like, I love being a physician, but I want to work in a lab. Like I don't want to have that like intensity of patient care and all that other kind of stuff, which I thought was just really fascinating insight. And just I've heard from a lot of physician friends and colleagues of mine just how everyone's story is a little bit different of how they choose their specialty or how they stumbled upon it. It's very similar in the mental health field. When I was still seeing clients, I would have told you in all of my schooling I never wanted to work with adolescents. I thought they were annoying. I thought they were a pain in the butt. I just had nothing in common with them. And my claim to fame when I first became a therapist was that I was an excellent adolescent therapist. And if I actually started doing therapy again right now, I would choose to work with teenagers. So it's just weird how some of those experiences shape you and all that other kind of stuff. So speaking of mental health, I want to talk a little bit about like mental health for physicians, right? And I know you guys aren't speaking on behalf of all physicians, but you guys are 2 of them. And I want to talk a little bit about, there's some really difficult statistics around physician mental health. I mean, I think we had talked about, before we started shooting today, that between 300 and 400 physicians a year take their own life, which if you really break it down, that's like one a day. When you think about how prized of possessions physicians are to us in our medical community, it just breaks my heart to know that we're losing any to taking their own life and all that kind of stuff. We also talked a little bit about that female physicians are 2 times more likely than non-physician women to take their own life. And so I want to talk a little bit about the stressors that you guys experience, or your take as to why those stats might be the way they are, and then just overall wellness opportunities available to you as physicians.
Do I go first?
I go for okay. The hard one.
It's a lot
first.
to
Yeah.
unpack.
Throwing the hard one out there. Yeah. I think there's also like the pre and post COVID a little bit, right? Like it's always been an issue, and I think actually COVID made the issue worse. But then in some ways, because it made it worse, it brought more light to it.
Sure.
So I think there's like good and bad there. So like for instance, we before COVID were kind of like, we started the wellness thing and we were like, we've got to get more wellness into like, our department at least. We can only help the small little bit that's us and our residents and med students and, our physicians, which is just trying to simple things like, hey, let's have some like non-work get-togethers where we bring our families, and so we can kind of like incorporate them into our lives.
Yeah.
Little stuff like that. And then actually when COVID happened, we even started pairing up. We have like these what do we call them, our battle buddies.
Yeah.
So we got paired up with another person, just kind of random in your group, and it was like, just check on each other every day.
I love that.
And then we
really
actually, and it wasn't us that started this, but we actually had our department form a relationship with the Department of Psychiatry, so that they could put us in touch with people to reach out for more help, and helped us kind of talk through our battle buddies and meet in small groups. So like I said, it was harder then, but it's nice because it kind of, I think, brought more light to it, and it made people maybe feel a little bit more comfortable that it was okay to have these feelings.
Well, and are those initiatives still going?
We don't do the battle buddies anymore,
Okay.
but we are.
I check on mine.
You check on your. Okay, well, I work with my battle buddy all the time. But, I don't know if those initiatives are still going, but the relationship with the psychiatry department is still there, and we've actually still done some things with them, joint grand rounds, kind of met with them. It's probably a good reminder, like right about now, to kind of touch base again to see how things are going.
Yeah. Well, and you guys, right? Like you guys, I know you, right? And I know that you guys are interested in wellness. You started this initiative, all that kind of stuff. How would you say, though, in general, if you were speaking in terms of your colleagues, your peers, people who have maybe been in the field for 20 years, 30 years, and people who are brand new babies in the field too, right? Like, what is the general feeling among physicians around mental health and wellness? And see, like is it well known? Like in mental health in our field, we can be like, oh yeah, I'm seeing my therapist today. Like is like, where's the stigma level at, in the physician group?
I think with every generation it's a little bit less, right? But I think it's
so,
still,
yeah.
I think it's still probably there and present. I think we're pretty progressive in our department, and like the initiatives that we did, I think our chair supports us greatly. But I think generally speaking, I think there's probably still a pretty big stigma around mental health, and especially like seeking out mental health therapy.
I think, I was going to say, I think a lot of it is like stigma or not, it's sort of like access to time to do that. So like I try to, especially because I'm with the residents, I try to joke around about like, it's okay if you're, like I take meds, fine. Like I'll just be like, I take Prozac, life is stressful. Like want people to realize that's okay. And then, I've seen a therapist, like just let them know, and, I'll refer them, because we actually through the medical school have really good counseling and therapy.
Sure.
Yeah, we have like a psychologist that actually meets with the residents 3 or 4 times a year, that they can then individually meet with her. I meet with the same, not really as in therapy, but like kind of more like coaching for,
like
but she's still a
checking in.
psychologist. Yeah,
exactly.
But the problem is, and I find this myself, is like, I just don't know when to go. Like I literally, my schedule's not reliable. I'm exhausted from work. When I'm not at work, I want to be doing the other hobbies in my life, or with my family, or just like not then talking and that kind of stuff. And when I mention it to like the residents, they're kind of the same way. They're like, but when?
But when do you have time?
Yeah, and there is time, but it's just like where do you focus this other energy too? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, because mental health is a balance, right? It's not just being able to, it is like having time for your family, having time for your hobbies, having time for your job, having time for your important relationships in your life. And it is one of those things where, at least for me, I always tell people to just like try and do good enough. Know that if you have fallen below a certain health space, whether it's depression, anxiety, whatever you're going through, you have to know when you need that extra boost. And we don't always need it. I always kind of say we're always kind of floating right above that line. You know, a lot of like really functional people are floating right above that line. And therapy can certainly help, but it's making sure you're balancing the engagement of all those different areas of your life so that it's in really what we're looking for is balance, right? As long as I'm balanced here, or maybe I'm able to take medications here, or maybe I'm able to spend time, you love horses, right? Like go and enjoy some of your hobbies, then that can keep us at this space where instead of needing mental or therapy to get through our daily life, we can choose to engage in it, right? And so I just love to know that you guys have access to that and that, you know, you can check in with somebody a couple times a year. I think that is super progressive. I love our home state of Minnesota and that there's all these initiatives that really support people in their wellness and health and all that other kind of good stuff. All right, well, I love this conversation. I could probably have it for 20 hours. I'm so fascinated by it. So if anybody has any questions, I just want to share too that there's a suicide and crisis hotline that has kind of dropped recently. The number is 988. People can access it like they can 911. So if anyone is having any thoughts of harming themselves, anybody else, or taking their own life, please reach out. There's a million people out here like us as therapists or people just in general in the healthcare field who would do anything we could to help you. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, no, it's Penguin Fin.
She came with her arm on my shoulder and she was like,
So we had a really interesting show today. I am absolutely in love with so many of the products that we reviewed and all that other kind of stuff. For me, the biggest takeaway of the day is that, you know, we learned so much about physician mental health. And I think it was such a powerful story that they shared about how physicians are experiencing mental health, the stigma that exists. And I'm also feeling really proud to know that there's these initiatives, right? Yeah. There's this engagement in these initiatives to really make a difference. I really want to make sure that people know that if they are struggling with thoughts of harming themselves or other people, or just struggling with your mental health, that this cool new resource out there, 988, you can call or text this number and you can get in touch with people immediately who can help you in crisis, and they will continue to connect you with people in your own community for ongoing support and care. I'm obsessed with the KobeCo candles.
Every single one.
This whole studio smells like it, and it is delightful, and I cannot wait to take all of my goodies home and light, honestly, a different scent in every room because they're so amazing. And then we have like a really exciting show next time.
I'm so excited.
Zoe and I are super giddy. We talked a little bit about puppies and animals today and how they're so important for our mental health and wellness. And our next show, we are going to be interviewing a veterinarian. We are going to have some puppy products to review, and of course, some puppies. We're going to bring in some puppies, and we're really excited to explore our mental health and
have them lick our faces.
Have them lick our faces. And I'm sure they'll find a way for us to be able to lay on the ground so that we can just lay in a pile of puppies, because I can't imagine any better self-care except for if there were also cats.
Oh, that would be fun. Next show maybe, right?
Exactly. So that's it. That's Daily Word Count. That's Out Loud with Erin Pash and, of course, my co-host Zoe, and we will see you next time.